What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here. Delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. And today we're coming at you with a out-of-print gem. If you can find this book for under $100 at this point, you are extremely lucky. It is a very difficult book to find, and sometimes you can't even find a copy at all on eBay or otherwise. It is, for some reason, this was very underprinted. It's very sought after for a reason, because they are reprinting the Batman stories from Crisis forward in two books called The Caped Crusader and Dark Knight Detective. Now, a lot of those are going out of print also, but for some reason, they skipped Second Chance's stories in those books. So you just get this whole slate that's missing this, and it's also missing a Death in the Family storyline-wise. I don't know why, because they are publishing other Jim Starlin and Jim Aparo works, but they took these out of there, and so you kind of need this in order to read that full run, which of course is what I'm interested in doing. So I was able to find this for not a terrible price, thank God. Very lucky. It is retail for $19.99. I think it came out in 2012 or something like that, and it's basically Jason Todd's post-crisis appearances. There are a couple more that are in the Caped Crusader Volume 1, and of course then there's Death in the Family, but that's about it. And so we get these one-off Batman stories in here, which are pretty neat, and this one's got a fake Batman who's got a little PTSD, and then Batman deals with him, and he thinks Batman's the fake Batman, and it's actually a two-issue storyline. Bruce Wayne goes through and has this reporter who he's kind of dating, and she loves him and she hates Batman. So he's just like, why you hate Batman? It's on the simple side. It's getting darker than the 70s stories were, but it still has a little bit of that Adam Westy vibe influence. Like, Frank Miller really hasn't permeated his influence onto everything yet. And so you get these nice stories where Batman actually solves mysteries. In this one, he does redeem the guy who's pretending to be Batman at this point, which I really appreciate. Pretty neat. At this point, it's written by Max Allan Collins, who I'm actually not familiar with. Same with Chris Warner on the art here. Both the writing and the art are fine. Interesting, this is called Did Robin Die Tonight? And that's coming up a little bit later. But Jason Todd's origin kind of gets redone here. And I actually thought at first these were the first appearances of Jason Todd, because I never paid attention to pre-crisis DC, but I guess he actually appeared in Batman 353 the first time. So they redid his origin very shortly after, within 50 issues. And he's jacking Batman's wheels off of his car. That's a very 80s car and a very 80s plot line, which I find entertaining. But here we go. We get that whole background, and Jason Todd gets caught up in this school where Batman puts him in this school that's in the ghetto. And Batman's like, okay, I'm going to rescue this kid by putting him in the school. Well, it turns out that this lady is actually running a terrible, terrible operation where their kids are just terrible, and she's smoking cigars. Like I said, it's on the cheesy side still, even though it's this is like dark and cheesy at the same time, and so I kind of really enjoy it because it's just ridiculous. And there's like even a scene in there where kids like lighten up something in their class, and the teacher goes, what are you smoking there? And he's like, weed, of course. It's like, oh man, 80s edgy is funny. And of course she's teaching them all about guns. But eventually Batman figures it out and shuts it all down, because that's how things go. And Jason Todd helps him out, so he adopts Jason Todd. So pretty neat storyline on that front. Turns out Two-Face killed Jason Todd's father, and eventually, as they train, Jason Todd finds that out and then gets really mad at Batman about it. Now, again, this is a very Adam Westy style storyline. So Two-Face leaves a calling card, and Two-Face always leaves his calling cards in twos, which I don't think they really do so much anymore. They might have back in the day a little bit more. But they have to figure out what these crimes mean. The fact that there's pairs of jacks and pairs of kings, and they turn out, they realize it's going to be at a casino. So Jason Todd actually is the one who figures it out and deals with Two-Face, and he doesn't end up getting revenge because Batman's like, you know what, we need to put him in jail, not kill him. It's a two-parter storyline also. Pretty neat. It's good character development, and it's all right. I'm very happy whenever baseball is shown in anything, and they end up fighting Two-Face in a baseball game. So, again, ridiculous stuff. And they have a giant roulette wheel for a human roulette. Yes. So, again, very Adam Westy and silly, but that's okay. So now we get Dave Cockrum on pencils, who does several issues. You can tell his style is just a little bit different here. Don Heck is actually doing the inker, and Don Heck is quite a master himself. His ink lines are a little more detailed and a little thicker than we were seeing in the prior issues, which gives a different feel to this. It kind of starts to push into the 80s style a little more from maybe that Adam West thing. But they fight a ridiculous character in this like mime lady who was an excited mime, and then the city canceled her funding, and they are putting a band in here called Blister Twister. Yeah, there they are. Very silly, but I had fun. I guess they're silly, but I have fun, and that is the deal here. In this one, there's like an ancient samurai guy who shows up. He's not ancient. His armor's ancient. He's from Japan, and Bruce Wayne, or rather Batman and him, square off, showing off Batman's ninja abilities. This is written by Joe Duffy, and it's a single filler issue. Might be the best issue in here. I really like Joe Duffy's writing for some reason, but it's really nice. Kieran Dwyer and Mike DiCarlo do the art, and I'm not familiar with them again. But the storyline's really good in this one. So I would say the art on Batman's probably not the best, but you see kind of some weird, awkward poses here. But the storyline was great. And now we get into Jim Aparo. And Jim Aparo, you can tell as soon as his art's on here, he just is a cut above everybody else. Look at this Batman. Look at how heroic and Dark Knighty he looks. And there's victims in a dumpster here. So Jim Starlin's finally starting writing, and Batman's kind of finding the killer of the victim of that, and eventually the gal who's like the sister of the person killed goes after that person. But beautiful, beautiful stuff. Jim Aparo's art is just so nice. So now that we're into this, it's good. We get a crossover with a DC event called Millennium, where there's like these manhunters everywhere, and there's too much setup for that, and since I'm not involved in the storyline right now, I really don't care about it. There's like a fake Jim Gordon running around. Weakest issue of the whole book here. Crossover events always bother me. It's like, come on. But it just interrupts the flow of everything every time. And look at this beautiful, the shading just done here by Mike DiCarlo with the inks, and Jim Aparo with the art here is really cool. And we see we get a really personal Robin story here, where he's really down on himself, and Nightwing is down on him also, and also down on Bruce Wayne. We get this like very personal argument between them. It's very cool, nice stuff, and eventually it ends up with Nightwing assisting Robin. So, and they become friends a little bit. So good stuff. And that's the last regular issue. So we get an annual. In here, or a part of an annual, because I guess there were maybe some reprints or something. But this one's back into that like cheesy story, because it's backed by Max Allan Collins, who was doing the early work before Starlin took over. And the Penguin gets out of jail, and he's trying to start a new life. And this gal likes him and wants him to not be a bad dude. And so he ends up in jail, and Batman feels really bad about it. But so it's a cute story. Again, I like those kind of cheesy stories in some ways. But this was really fun. I really enjoyed this. I do not like this. This is like really thin, almost. It's like barely a cut above newsprint paper. So they really cheaped out on this production. But these are stories that are really hard to find. They're not really reprinted anywhere. And so it is worth the read on that front. This is really good stuff. And from the cheese to even the cringy parts were just fun and made me laugh, to the dark detective parts were really nice too. So I'd call this like an 8.5 out of 10 for Batman Tales. All right, hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.